Welcome back to the Weekend Debate and our final section, which we thought we would dedicate to tourism because you are very much here on that. And, of course, the TT is your responsibility. Over to tourism, I mean, and obviously you have your hotel and that sort of thing. And
I haven't got a hotel now.
Well, yeah, but you still have
I support
businesses.
that sector. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And you probably sing and dance away around TT normally or something.
I try my best, I guess.
Yeah. So it affects everyone. I mean, it does affect the whole island in so many places. But come on then, what can you tell us?
I think it's been very difficult. It's still locked down. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, it's been locked down since March 2020. Both me and Chris are incredibly passionate. Chris is incredibly knowledge on this particular topic is second to none, and I've valued his sort of opinion quite often. You know, when he talks, you sit up and listen because a lot of the time he's absolutely right. The question is how do we actually come out of this? And the problem is, we've got to have some form of season in 2021. If not, then government is going to have to support this industry right the way through to March 2022.
Do you see a bit of a season this year then? Do you think it's...
on my heart, I'd love to say yes. I think we've got to get to the May. We've got to reach those 42,000 vaccinations first. That is what David Ashford said. The health minister said it was the most vulnerable categories. I think then we've got to look into the UK. I think we've then got to start thinking about taking a risk approach, maybe opening up a few more air bridges, maybe opening up family and friends to come here. We've got to look at it. If we get towards August and we haven't opened it, then I think we're in trouble. I think we'll then have to support. But last year, I got criticised for this at the time. I spoke to officers and I said to them, do me a favour, when we go into 2021, move everything we can to the end of the season if we can, and then come back into the year, and hopefully we'll meet the government and this COVID head on at some point. And that's where we are. From an industry point of view, I think every single hotel across the island, every single B&B, homestay, everything is just saying, we just want to work. We just want to work, get some money in to see us through the winter months, and then we'll bounce back in 2022, bigger and better. We're already working on a new format for the TT, which will be unveiled in 2022/2023. We've got a brand new scoreboard, as we've promised, which will look very similar to the one that's coming before. So we've taken these events that hopefully we're going to bounce back a lot bigger and a lot better in 22/23.
Okay, you're going to put any meat on the bones? You've tantalised a lot in that.
Well, no, we've looked at the race schedule. We're looking at the whole event for the TT. I may not be here in that particular period of time, but we will start unveiling those in 22, but a lot of it will happen in 23. So the team are working tirelessly to get that done. We're working with other stakeholders. We definitely have to bounce back bigger.
You're going to have a new scoreboard in place?
Because the scoreboard will be in place hopefully by 22, as promised, and it will look very similar to what was removed, but it will have a bit of modern technology in it, as promised.
You're replacing it with more mechanical bits?
We've got, it's going to be the same sort of style of scoreboard, but it will have up-to-date technology in it with screens. But wait to see to the photographs. The photographs and the designs will come out in the next couple of months.
And the scouts will still be doing something.
That's what I was going to ask. That's the question I heard.
The scouts, I don't know if you saw an article in Isle of Man newspapers, scouts very much involved all the way through this, and other stakeholders. So we're listening to people. From a tourist point of view, we were hoping to reach over 330, 350,000 visitors very soon, but that's unlikely now to happen for a couple of years. But we want to reach 500,000 visitors as soon as we can in the future.
It's classic though, isn't it? Some might say it's a fudge. You haven't gone modern, you haven't gone old. So it's a bit of this and a bit of that to sort of try and please everyone.
I think you just got to wait for the designs to be unveiled. I've seen them, and it looks good.
Is it signed off?
Not yet, but I've seen them.
You got money in the budget for that? Did you get it?
That's a concern, but we'll worry about that another day.
Were you a scout by any chance on the thing? Did you do it?
I didn't get to scouts. I was a cub.
Oh.
I was a cub and a beaver, but I didn't get to scouts. Give up.
Okay, TT.
Don't like camp.
We're doing TT first, but that's an overview. You can skip elsewhere, but tourism and things like that.
I mean, tourism is good for me, kind of in the video work, because people come over and businesses even come over. People are interested to film during the TT. I mean, we had TT Close to the Edge. That was an amazing film, in fairness. Objectively, it was a good film.
Do you know, we talked about films in the last bit, and that really was one. I should use that as the best example we've probably got, actually.
Yeah, and I mean, I know there was... I've heard that there were talks previously about a second one. That just kind of never came to fruition. I think a second one would be really cool because you've got new characters almost coming into play each year, and it could be interesting to follow that.
And do you make much money yourself out of TT? Because it seems almost everyone has something on the side almost that encourages a bit more money coming in, therefore you spend more or something.
Not as of yet. Kind of, as you touched on, I'm just kind of...
You have a glass of water. Should we be worried? Should we be isolating?
No, I've been very good.
Okay.
As you touched on, kind of asking if I'd slipped through the net, kind of no in so much as I had a job. But if I hadn't had that and I was just my self-employed self, I haven't been self-employed for long enough. I haven't had a collective kind of annual income that would say, okay, well, this is how much I should be entitled to. Because it was like you said, a side hustle. I was working part-time and trying to build my business.
What was your side hustle?
No, the video business was my side hustle.
I thought you were playing as well.
Oh, that too, yeah, no, that's
gigging in the...
I haven't gigged, no. I strictly recording.
What do you play then?
I sing. I write songs. I have a new song.
And
out.
you're here to actually, after we've done this interview, doing another interview with me about your new record.
Yeah, I'm heading up to Max Radio. I've got a new single out yesterday.
Okay, you got to call again.
It's coming out. They're not gonna.
You didn't pay me to ask that question.
Other singles are available, but listen to mine. Yeah, no. So I mean, I love. I like being creative. I'm not one for sitting. I say I'm not one for sitting still. A lot of the job requires sitting in front of a computer, but I love writing, and I think it's part of why I love my job now. Anyway, with the songwriting and the filmmaking, and even the commercial side of things, you're telling a story, and it's a very human process, and it's humanity, and then I get to see human stories.
Is DV supporting this area enough though?
I haven't asked. No, I've had support from like the Arts Council. They part funded my first short film. That was really, really cool. I've tried to kind of do as much as I can on my own. I have got plans that I've been talking to people about stuff that I will be putting in applications.
Tell us more.
No, because anyone who's in creative, they go, I can't talk about it.
No.
Can't talk about
It's just
been
it's a seed. It's not even, if it was a sapling maybe.
I should
but
point out
it's a seed.
he did a great video for the road, the microphone people.
Oh yeah. Where'd I put my hat?
Yeah, he made a film for a competition during the lockdown, and it was a great little film. And
where is it now then?
It didn't win.
It didn't win. There was about, I think there was 8,000 entries.
Wow.
I got a free hat, tote bag, and keyring for being one of the first 4,000 to enter. No, but I mean that I got the email saying it's opening. The competition's opening. Don't forget to submit. And people plan this for the entire year. And I thought, I might be in a position that I could do well because I'm in one of the only places that can actually make a film.
Yeah. Your parents, they're both dentists, you say, are they?
No. So my stepdad's a dentist, and my mum is kind of. She likes to say he does the teeth, she does everything else.
So you create
the hard work.
Was it interesting when you said you'll be going to the creative industries? I mean, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah. So I mean, my plan, it was kind of a strange one because I really enjoyed school and I was kind of the bookworm, but I also was into the creative side, and it could have gone either way. Like I did my A levels, I did maths, and I did well in that. And then I was applying to uni. It got to that point, and my parents were like, "Okay, what's the plan?" And I said, "I want to be an actor." And they were like,
"Yeah, right."
Yes, right. Yeah.
Okay. And they said, "Okay, you can go do your auditions for acting school, if you apply for university as well." And so I was like, okay, well, I should probably go for something safer. I say safer. I applied to do law, and I was accepted to do law, and I wasn't accepted to acting school. And so it got to that point, and I was like, oh dear.
That's sod's law then.
Yeah. And I was like, oh God, I don't want to be a lawyer.
No.
So I said to my parents, I said, I'm not going to uni. And they were like,
right.
What? And I said, it's because I don't want to be a lawyer. And they said, you can change your degree. And I was like, oh. So I did. And I did media, film and TV, and
here you are.
Here I am.
Watch the videos, they're great. Anyway, back to tourism.
let me challenge you both, because you start talking about tourism and then you go pair of you, and then you immediately go on to TT.
Because we got the scoop there.
You
almost.
all do it. You all do it.
Almost a scoop.
Great on the work they're doing on the TT, but tourism is, and I'm really going to be boring, so nothing new there then. But the yield issue over a long season is what makes the sector viable. And I would just want to pick on one particular phrase that Rob used, which I think put his finger on it, and that is the sector really just wants to go back to work. It's utterly disheartening, even though the support schemes have been very good, and again, congratulations to Treasury for that. But the value and the experience and the people is draining out of the sector, and we must find some way, even in part, to get back to work as soon as we reasonably can. And earlier on we were talking about we needed a more agile approach to the way we dealt with the vaccination thing and the steam packet. Well, now we need to have the courage to have agility in how we reintroduce tourism, element by element, safe element. And there are a range of issues that we can look at. I mean, what about the idea, for example, of groups of older people who are vaccinated, and we know are vaccinated, brought into the Isle of Man at an earlier stage than other sectors of the
cruises.
Well, it's been discussed. Believe it or not, there is actually a paper from one particular hotelier who's actually said that we should bring over groups of older residents who don't want to be living in the UK at the moment, bring them over for long periods of time, possibly up to 6 months, and allow them to come here, but obviously have insurance and everything else in place. That was one discussion. I think Chris is absolutely right. I think we have got a skill shortage now within the tourist sector, because I think some of the people that came to the island that supported our industry have left, and I think the evidence is there to show that. I think we have a workshop next week where Tim will discuss this. As I say, I've been very vocal that I felt May was the critical date. Then it's a case of where we go, because I think even if we look at the wider picture over the next 18 months, very few people are going to be travelling to Europe, probably wider field. So we've got a chance here to really capture the UK. Instead of going to the UK or just going a few miles down from you where you live, come to the Isle of Man. Come here for the holiday.
But the coach business has been decimated, hasn't it? You know, what would be the bread and butter here for some of those hotels?
No, I don't think. I don't think coach industry is the bread and butter of the Isle of Man. I think the whole area has diversed, and I think we have some amazing products here, and we've got some brilliant attractions. And I think they do an amazing job to sell the Isle of Man. The problem is we just need to go out there and capture it, because I think a lot of people in 21 and in 22 will be staying very close in the UK. So there's no reason. And again, with the Isle of Man team within DFE, within the tourist team, the marketing team, they're ready to press the button. But what is holding us back is the Council of Ministers. Now, what's gone wrong in the last 3 or 4 days is those new cases, those 15 cases of COVID. There's going to be a lot more nervous. And I was hoping when we go to this Tynwald workshop, I think it's tomorrow, Monday, I think to go, on Monday. So if we actually were having that, I was going in there with a bit more confidence. But I'm almost certain now we're going to be going in with a half-empty glass that we're still getting cases. We're still going to be nervous. And that's going to be difficult.
But I mean, again, picking up a point Rob's made, I mean, the staycation market in the UK is projected to be a really significant player. And what I was trying to say, perhaps clumsily, was that we need to identify which areas of those markets we can pull out in the short term to re-enable the sector to get back to work again as soon as possible. Because again, back to this point about staffing, it is bleeding away, and that's a really serious worry. So in suggesting particular targeting in the way I didn't mean that was the big future. It was a way to get us back to work. That's the point.
TT 2022 will be on.
Yes, we've announced the dates. So they've already published. The Steam Packet are selling tickets now for 2022. Obviously, we've got a problem we're going to have to overcome at some point this year, and that relates to the rolling effect of bookings that have been rolled over from the 2 cancellations of the events. Obviously, we're about to make an announcement on the Classic TT, on the actual Max Grand Prix as well, and the Southern 100. So they're going to be coming out probably in the next couple of weeks. They're
being pushed back. Is that what you're going to say?
I'm not going to tell you an exclusive, unfortunately, Paul. But those announcements,
People
will
are waiting
be
on
made
that,
next
aren't
couple of
they?
weeks.
They are waiting.
They are waiting because again they've got bookings taken. So wait and see. But that announcement will be made. I think from our point of view is the island tourism is going to take around 3 months, I think, for it to be ready to accept visitors coming back to the island, because we need to replace those skills. We need the hotels and the establishments to be ready. We need the airlines to sell tickets. So there is a window there. And what I keep saying to the Council of Ministers is try and set that target end of May, beginning of June. I would prefer them to say that and say, this is our proposal, this is our outline. Get the Manx people ready, because I still feel, and I'm sorry about this, but I think the first person who comes to our island and says they're a visitor, I honestly, I can see a Wicker Man event going on. I really
Besides
can.
Guernsey Man.
Say, like,
Guernsey
it might
people, we
take
don't count
a
on
few-
see them.
It might take a few to 3 months for the sector to get ready, but I was going to say, how long do you think it'll take for the public
I
to
think
get
it's
ready?
the confidence, and that's why we've got to start, because there's a lot of people on Ireland who want to go off Ireland to see family. They haven't seen family for over a year, and that's the problem.
It's the point about having to move from as you discussed at the beginning of this program, the move away from total eradication to living with a much milder appreciation of a milder infection, rather than being the absolute killer it's been. There is a real debate needed in the public arena on this one.
Well, you've got all these cruise lines booked years in advance. I mean, that's going to be quite an ask. I mean, you said the Saga ones, which actually they can't even go on a Saga one without having the injections, but overall, what's that?
But that's maybe a market we need to look at as well, because they are in an environment which is bubble wrapped in a lot of the thing. There's,
Yeah.
you know,
You're going to be turning down everyone that's booked in now in a minute,
when
right?
we talk about tourism, is again a question I asked at a Tynwald briefing. Are we going to get to a stage where people are going to have to demonstrate that they've been vaccinated? I personally think we are. I think, I've got a holiday booked, I think for 22 or 23, I can't remember what year it was, so I booked it. But I'm almost certain that's going to ask me to prove that I've been vaccinated.
Like a vaccine passport.
And that's going to become very, very common, where you're either going to demonstrate...
You might not be able to get one until whenever, because he's so young.
But I think that's the case, though. We may have to do that, where people, if they want to go away, they have to show they've been vaccinated or be prepared to be vaccinated.
Well, I mean, I was fortunate.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was fortunate enough, kind of tail end of 2019. Before all of this, I was working with Formula One, and so there was a lot of travel involved. I was contracted as like a camera assistant, and then I think like a post-production producer. And so there was a lot of travel involved, and one of which was going to Brazil and Abu Dhabi. And prior to that, you had to get your jabs, and you had to have that card with you with your passport, and you weren't allowed to go without it. So I don't think it's an unreasonable thing to say.
And I think the particular point that concerns the Isle of Man, of course, is that because we have been free of this infection, our immunity levels generally are, I think it's rational and reasonable to say this, are significantly lower than elsewhere. And so what we're looking to is the speed with which our own internal vaccination programme rolls out. And as I said earlier, and I don't want to repeat myself, but I'm not quite sure we're in exactly the right place, and I do think that we need to think again and be a little bit more agile.
Okay, just wrap this up with the hoteliers. The support carries on, obviously, but there comes a point when some people want to sell, they can't sell or whatever.
I think that what worries me, the longer it goes on, the more difficult, because each hotel will be in a different financial position, and I think that's very important, and we have to acknowledge that as government, that there is each individual circumstance going to be different. I think if you speak to industry, they just desperately wanted to get back to work. They've been out of work now for over a year. We've got to support them, we've got to help them, we've got to market the island, we've got everything in position. What we don't have in position is the Council of Ministers giving us some reassurance to say, right, we're going to open the borders softly in beginning of...
Yeah. I mean, Boris is coming out with his next week, isn't he? So
softly and carefully targeted.
And carefully as well. But
the UK's got an end game coming out. We haven't yet got anything particular. I mean, they've got these levels.
We have to develop our approach. We have to
Absolutely.
have a strategy now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to work on probably this week. From that Tynwald workshop, we're going to have to do that. But again, we've got to bring the people of the island with us.
Absolutely.
They've got to buy into this. But I think most of them will, because they'll all be desperate to see family coming here, or for them to go and see family in the UK or wider afield. But it's just how we do that.
So optimistic for a season of some description this year.
My heart tells me I hope.
Any views? Holiday season, do you think it's going to happen? You know,
This year, I don't know. I don't know if people will be on board with it just yet.
We have to have a form of season, in part, as early as possible, as early as the beginning of June. And by the fall, we need to see the sector reasonably busy and then build into a full season in 22. I think it's fair appraisal of the situation, I think.
Absolutely, I think so. I mean, everybody you speak to, they've got bookings in their calendars from June onwards, and we've got to try and help deliver some of those if we can.
And the TT that wasn't the first of the ones that wasn't, no electric bike race, which was really strange in the terms the world we're living in. Is that coming back?
We're still looking at that.
Still looking. Why is this? Why? It's the future,
isn't it? Technology, because the technology, we had one particular. There's different types of fuel, so it's a case of looking at the technology, seeing the technology there, see if we can get enough universities on to bring the bikes.
Well, that's the thing. Is it numbers that aren't interested, basically?
It comes to technology. The technology.
You need enough people to make a race.
There's different types of fuel that can be used on it, so it may be a case of opening. More importantly, we need a bigger and better event. There's going to be a new schedule, a new program. We're going to try and come back with a bigger bang than we've done before.
And you think people will come back? Because there's obviously these people get it into their system that they've got out the habit, they may go elsewhere or do something different.
I think
Art of White coming up with their little idea.
I think that's at the heart of it, and Chris said this so many times, that we have got, and this is across the sector, every hotel, every business, we've got to go and capture every business. Don't expect the visitor just to come here. We've got to fight for every single customer that comes to the Isle of Man, but we've got something very unique to offer. It's a case of capturing it.
Just like this program.
Well, I think as well, you know, if you do need video advertising, I mean,
the radio
I'd be happy
station.
to help you.
Good
Supporting local business.
Wise record. I mean, you keep
buy my
anything you're
records.
vlogging this week.
Definitely not vlogging.
Your vlogs, things. You always say, look out for them if you want to read them.
Done. Yeah. I'm almost come to an end. I've almost done 5 years, and that'll do me.
And laundry business.
I was going to say to you there.
Me.
Yeah. When I said other radio stations available, I should have said other programs of this nature available, but there aren't. You are unique, aren't you?
Well, I've just started a podcast. If that another blog.
There you are.
Very different vibe. Very different vibe.
I'm going to be a guest. I don't want to go talk about.
When are you starting then?
We've started. Episode 3 was out yesterday.
Get up to date. What's it about?
Where'd you find it then? Where'd you find it?
Find it? Oh, YouTube. You'd find it on the Glassline Media YouTube.
What's it called?
It is called the Glassline Media Podcast. We couldn't decide on a name.
And you talk about
Glassline. Why Glassline?
That's his business.
That's the business name, Glassline Media.
But what do you talk about?
We talk about filmmaking. Filmmaking and being creative. The latest episode is about being creative in a pandemic. Because the other two guys that I work with are in Manchester and Liverpool.
Then wash my mouth out with soap. Other podcasts available.
But this is unique. This is public service broadcasting at its finest.
Mine's not.
Thank you everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And as always, if you've got comments or you want to be a guest or you suggest guests, do not think we are just, we'd like to get as many faces around here as possible. Although some people probably will appear more than others as he ticks his time down to
not
leaving.
for much longer.
No, there you go. No. He'll be that old F.
Yes.
So he'll stick around. Thanks again anyway, and we'll have hopefully another program for you next week.